All children start out naturally curious and love to learn. When they are sent to school, instead of learning, it is a repeated process of memorizing and regurgitating information. The better you are at regurgitating this information, the better you will do in the school system. The real education is obeying authority. We are taught not to think outside the box. We are taught to memorize, regurgitate information. An input-output process, not unlike a computer or a slave. We are taught to respond to a bell, just like a factory floor. We are taught to keep our head down and just make it through the day. We are not taught to develop critical thinking. We are not taught about debt-based money and the principles that our founding fathers fought for. We are not taught to cooperate and view each other as a team with individual talents and gifts. We are not taught to question authority or even the facts demanded of us. We are indoctrinated, not educated. Indoctrinated like little slaves. The secret of American schooling is that it does not teach the way children learn, nor is it supposed to. Schools were conceived to serve the economy and the social order rather than the kids and the families. That is why it's compulsory. As a consequence, the school cannot help anybody grow up because its prime directive is to retard maturity. It does it by teaching that everything is difficult, that other people run our lives, that our neighbors are untrustworthy and even dangerous. The aim of public education is not to fill the young of the species with knowledge and awaken their intelligence. Nothing could be further from the truth. The aim is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same safe level, to breed and train standardized citizenry, to put down dissidence and originality. H.L. Mencken. Our education system is centered on an input-output process of information. Our success or failure depends on our efficiency of taking what the teacher tells us. This system was carefully created to mold us into what we are today. The masses blindly flow through this education system and naturally fit into centralized systems that want good, little, obedient workers who take orders without question.
We are seeing the minds of children hijacked by the state in multiple ways, because what we're looking at is the end of parenthood, which is what Aldous Huxley was talking about in Brave New World, published back in the 1930s, but not as the novel it's said to be, but more the blueprint from insider knowledge of where it was meant to go. And that is where we're going now. And look at how more and more dictatorial powers expressed by dictatorial people, often called head teachers, etc., that are being used by the state to dictate to parents and dictate to children, and more, not even dictate to them only through the school day, but what they do afterwards. What schools are programming prisons. And the idea is to use it to take children from the earliest age and program their perceptions for life, perceptions that suit the state and the need and desire for mass control. And you hear it all the time, don't you? Governments. Education should prepare children for the workplace. No, it shouldn't. Education should set free all the gifts that children have. Remembering facts and intelligence are not the same thing. But we're supposed to believe they are, so we will accept this crap called education. They are reducing and reducing and reducing the time that children and young people have to free think. Preparing children for the workplace simply means turning children into unthinking, unquestioning, acquiescent cogs to replace the previous generation of cogs in the state machine.
Our children are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. They're being besieged with information and calls for their attention from every platform. Computers, from iPhones, from advertising hoardings, from hundreds of television channels. And we're penalising them now for getting distracted. From what? Boring stuff. At school, for the most part. The arts especially address the idea of aesthetic experience. An aesthetic experience is one in which your senses are operating at their peak. When you're present in the current moment, when you're resonating with the excitement of this thing that you're experiencing, when you are fully alive. An anesthetic is when you shut your senses off and deaden yourself to what's happening. We're getting our children through education by anaesthetizing them. And I think we should be doing the exact opposite. We shouldn't be putting them asleep. We should be waking them up to what they have inside of themselves. We still educate children by batches. We put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? Why is there this assumption that the most important thing kids have in common is how old they are? Well, I know kids who are much better than other kids at the same age in different disciplines. Or at different times of the day, or better in smaller groups than in large groups, or sometimes they want to be on their own. And it's about standardization. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm. We have to think differently about human capacity. We have to get over this old conception of academic, non-academic, abstract, theoretical, vocational. Secondly, we have to recognize that most great learning happens in groups, that collaboration is the stuff of growth. And thirdly, it's crucially about the culture of our institutions, the habits of the institution and the habitats that they occupy.